We are on the Lamed Hamad Aleph, and we just learned the shaila of the halacha that the even if the shomer is willing to pay, he still has to make a shvua she'ena b'rshusay. And the Gemara cited a case where the malva claims that he lost the because not that because the mashkin. The malva received the mashkin. And the malva tells the loiva, I lent you $1,000, and the mashkin that I lost, which I'm taka liable for, is only worth $500. So therefore, you still owe me $500. And the loiva responded, I'm sorry, but the mashkin is worth the full amount of the chayv. I owe you nothing. So there, that would be called a koy for a koil. And there's no chiv shvu at all. And in fact, the loiva is part of it making a shvu. But what if the loiva says, my mashkin was only worth $750, meaning there's still a deficit of $250. So he's being made to evict us, right? The malva wants $500 because he holds the mashkin was only worth $500. The loiva says, I owe you $250, not $5. There, the loiva has to swear that in fact he only owes another $250 because the mashkin worth $750. So what the loiva is going to be swearing about is the value of the mashkin, which he no longer has. Rather, it's the value of the mashkin that's in the hands of the malva. The Gemara cited a comment that in this case, instead of the loiva swearing, we tell the malva to swear. Why? Because if the loiva swears, it's possible that the malva will pull out the mashkin and say, I never really lost it. I had it all along, but I wanted to see if you would swear honestly or not. That would cause a problem. And there's different reasons why it would cause a problem. Either because it's going to make us a false shvua. Tosha that so adrabah, that'll make him be more careful when he swears. So Tosha it just doesn't look right to be mechayev a shvua when it's possible that the whole shvua wasn't required anyway, and therefore the Gemara tells us that, or the Brisa tells us that the loiva doesn't swear in this case. Rather, the malva swears how much it's worth, and the malva gets to collect. So instead of the loiva swearing that it was worth $750, the malva will swear that it's only worth $500 and collect $500. However, we had a halacha from Rapuna that no matter what, the malva has to swear that he does not have it, because we're afraid maybe he wanted to buy or keep this item, and the loiva didn't want to sell it. So by lying and saying that it's missing, he would be able to keep it. So therefore, we make the malva swear. So the kash is, if the malva is going to make a shvua that he doesn't have it, why would we be worried that he would pull it out? So the Gemara had multiple terutzim. One teretz was that in fact the Brisa never said that the loiva doesn't swear. The loiva swears and the malva swears. The malva swears that it's not in his rishos. Then the loiva can swear how much it's worth. And what the Brisa means, min nishba, the Brisa means min nishba tchila. First, the malva has to swear that he doesn't have it. Now that it eliminates the possibility that the malva will pull it out, then we can let the loiva swear on its value. That was one shot we had. That was the last shot we had. One shot we had was this Brisa is speaking in the case where the malva didn't have to swear that he lost it because they were item that was stolen. The other svar that we had was that we're afraid the malva will taka swear that he doesn't have it, and then after the loiva swears, the malva will claim, you know what, I found it. So because of all those reasons, the loiva doesn't swear, only the malva. So in most of the terusim, the malva swears on the value of the item, except for the last teretz where the loiva swears on the value of the item, the malva just swears that he doesn't have it. And that's where we left off yesterday, which took us to the dot that says Rav Huna bar Tachlifa mishmei derava. Rav Huna bar Tachlifa Mishmei de Rav Amar, Reisha de Seifa. Now, the Reisha de Seifa was a case that we didn't discuss yet. That is a case where the loiva was the claimant, and the loiva said, "You lent me $1,000, but my mashkin was worth $2,000. So now that you lost my mashkin, you owe me $1,000." And the malva said, "No, I lent you 1,000, and the mashkin was only worth 1,000." So what halacha? He doesn't swear. So Omar Reisha, Rav Huna bat Achlifa Mishmei Rav Amar Reisha the Seva is a tiyuf to the Rav Huna. Let's go through the case. Selah Visani Alav. You lent me $1,000, but Shtayim Hayashava, my mashkin was worth $2,000. The Malva claims, Loiki Elasela Helvisicha Alav. True, I did lend you $1,000, but Salah Yeshava, your mashkin was only worth $1,000. So now we're even. Frek the Gemara. So that, and what is the Brisa Paskin? Potter. Nobody makes a shvua. Frek the Gemara. Rav Huna. If you hold like Rav Huna, that automatically the person who had the item that now lost it has always to swear that he is not holding on to that item. So why don't you say a Gilgal Shavua? Migu de Mishtava Malva, Shena Bershusai, we're making him swear anyway that the object is not in his Rishus. So let's add on another Shvua, Lishtava Nami, a Gilgal Shvua, Kamahoyashav. Why don't we force the Malva to make a secondary Shvua that testifies to its value? So before you were going to pata you, because you say the mashkin was worth no more than the loan, make a Shvua to that effect. Because al yidei gilgul shvua, you can force him to make that shvua. And remember that we have a base shvua here. The base shvua that we have is ein b'shusa. Omer Bashi Amrisa l'shmaitza kamed Rav Kahana. I told this over to Rav Kahana. The Amar Ali, and he told me to hey b'mamina. Let's say it's speaking with a loiva believes the malva, and therefore there's no shvua. So how the katani potter b'mamina loiva l'malva she'eni b'shusay. So the loiva told the malva up front probably, I trust you. You're lending me money. I trust you. In the event that you lose my mashkin, I'm not going to demand a shvua of you that you don't have the mashkin. In fact, the Gemara, if the loiva trusts the malva, so then v'nemne loiva l'malva nami b'ha kama havashava. So where they're fighting about its value, the malva claims that the mashkin is only worth the amount of the loan, and they're even. So why is there a fight about that? So because like him it's the loiva who bought that mashkin. It was the loiva's item. It was the loiva's item. The loiva will know its value. The malva is just holding on to that mashkin. The malva doesn't really have an intimate knowledge of the value of the mashkin. So it's not a question of the loiva doesn't trust the malva. The loiva doesn't think the malva appreciates the value of the mashkin that he gave. If they have such a chummy relationship, so why doesn't the malva trust the loiva that the value of the mashkin is really $2,000, and the malva should gladly pay the loiva $1,000, which is the difference in the cost between the value of the mashkin that he lost and what the loiva owed him? No, the malva doesn't trust the loiva. The loiva trusts the malva, but the malva doesn't trust the loiva. Why is it that the loiva believes the malva? Yet the malva doesn't trust the loiva. So because loiva mekayim bei b'malva tumas yisharim tanchem, the simplicity and the straightforwardness of a righteous person leads them, and therefore they're successful. And malva mekayim bei b'loiva v'salaf boig dimishadem, the verdraite ways of those who do aveiros messes them up, take them down. So it's hard to process this Gemara. It's hard to process this Gemara because if the malva doesn't trust the loiva, like why did he lend him the money in the first place, right? And I know a lot of crooks that are very successful, and I know a lot of erlich tzaddikim that don't make a lot of money. So it's a little bit of an interesting Gemara. It explains why the loiva would be trusting of the malva, and the malva would not be trusting of the leiva. The leiva would be trusting of the malva because the fact that he's successful shows that it must be tumas yisharim tancheim. He must be an ish yashar, so he's not likely to lie. But the malva doesn't trust the leiva because the malva thinks to himself, why is he struggling? Why does he need a loan? He's not such a straight guy. It's just that in reality, you don't always find that it works out that way. So I don't know. Okay. Zok the Helig Gemara weiter. Who gavra the afkid kipi gabechaver. Now we're going to learn about Bezdin could be tough. Somebody was mafkid jewelry, Rashi's nizamim. Nizam, I believe, of nose rings. Someone gave a pekadon of nose rings to his chaver. And then the day came where the owner of the object came to collect it. Amalei, havli kipi. I'm ready to collect my nose rings that I left by you. Thank you so much. Amalei lo yadana hecha isvinu. I don't know where I put them. In other words, yes, I was your shomer. I was your shomer chinam. I put it somewhere. I don't know where I put it. Also, look, when they came to Rav Nachman, Amalei kol lo yadana pshi usahi. Every lo yadana is pshi usahi. There are some Rishonim who make a diak. I don't know where I put it, but did I put it in a good place? So the Rishonim say, even if you know you're 100% sure, put it in a very, very safe and responsible place. So where you placed it itself is not a pshia. You put it in a responsible place, but now, subsequently to placing it there, you forgot where you put it. That is a pshia in and of itself. So kolo yadana, it doesn't make a difference if you placed it in a good place or not. If you don't know where it is, that is considered a pshia, and as a shomer chinam will be mechuyev to pay. And therefore, he told him zil shlim. Rav Nachman said, you as the shomer have to pay for the value of those rings. Loi shilam, he didn't pay. He did not listen to the psak of Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman, his bezdin had teeth. His piskei halach had teeth. Also Rav Nachman, agvei la patnaminei. He actually foreclosed on his property to pay back the mafkid for his keeping. Of course, as always, l'shtoif ishtachach kipi. He was looking for his chametz, and he found, this is where I put them. It was in my safety deposit box. But let's say the kipi were determined to have been worth $10,000, and they took his house for that. Now things went up, and the kipis are worth $20,000, the acre. So the shomer has already paid for these kipi. Does the shomer get the kipi? Does he get to keep it or not? Vayaker. Amar of Nachman said, Hadri kipi lemarayu. We have to reverse the foreclosure that I made. You're going to give back the kipi to the original boss. Well, Hadra padna lemara, and we're going to give back the house to the shomer. It goes back. So let me just see if we have a Tosfos over here that I wanted to see. This is a very important shtickle here. No, we're going to get there. We're going to get there in a second. This is going to now connect back to the first daf in Hamafkid. Remember, at the beginning of Hamafkid, at the beginning of this parak, we learned that when the Baal HaPikadon originally, at least in one lashon, originally gives the Pikadon to the shomer, he says, if it gets stolen, and you would really be parted from paying me as a shomer mechinam, and you pay me anyway, I'm giving you my power now, and that's why you get the kefel, because when the power was stolen, it was already yours. It was your power that was stolen. Right? That's what we had in the first part. The Gemara asked, if the power belongs to the shomer from the moment you gave it over to him, so the gizes and v'lados should also belong to the shomer. So the Gemara says, no, when a person gives away something like that, he carves out, he keeps for himself the gizes and v'lados, because that's shvacha da osam migufa. It's shvach that comes from the guf hadover that he doesn't give away, that he keeps for himself. But he doesn't keep for himself is the kefil and the karen, which is coming from left field. That's not so connected to that he's willing to give away. So the question that had arisen then that I didn't discuss at the time was, what if the animal goes up in value? What if when the animal was given to him as a vikatan, the animal was worth 500, and now cattle went up, and when they found the cattle, it was worth 1,000. Who gets that shvach? So that was a little bit unknown at the time. So hopefully today we'll be able to find a pshitus to that shaila. Who gets that shvach? Is that shvach the asa migufa? If the animal itself is worth more, or is that shvach the asa alma because it's market based? It's market based growth, not because the animal itself something grew out of it. So let's see what happened over here. Amarava, Hava Yisivna Kameder Rav Nachman. I was learning by Rav Nachman, and guess what I was learning? And we were learning the same thing that we're learning now. They were learning Hamav. Varmila, and I asked them Akasha, Varmila, I asked Rav Nachman Akasha on this psak. It says Shila and Vilayratzali Shava. What is halacha? The Shomer gets to keep it. So why you, Rav Nachman, are you not allowing the Shomer who paid to keep the shvach of the karka went up? I'm sorry, the shvach of the kipi went up, and rather you're saying that belongs to the original owner. V'lo yahadeli. Rav Nachman didn't even show me the courtesy of responding to my question. But you know what? Vishaper over the hadeli. It's good he didn't answer me because it was a stupid question. My timer. What's the reason why he shouldn't have answered me? Because the whole reason why the owner of the Bikadon is willing to give the kefal and the dal v'hei to the shomer is because the shomer didn't hassle the bala Bikadon. He says, you know what, I'm paying you. So there was no issue. He didn't have to fight. Yes, he ended up paying in full, but not until I schlepped into Bezdin and I had to go through the whole litigation process. That's why I'm not giving him, I'm not marking to him the kipi when I gave it. Zok to Gemara, remember the Shavar of Nachman. As an aside, you see from here the fact that Rab Nachman reversed a foreclosure and the seizure. You see, Rab Nachman holds the Shuma Hadar. Rab Nachman holds that you could reverse a foreclosure. So, for instance, let's say Reuven owes Shimon $100,000 and Reuven can't pay, and because of that, they seize one of Reuven's properties, and then later on, Reuven comes up with the money. Are you telling me Reuven's allowed to go back and say, I want my property back? So, Grashi the Shuma Hadar, they go back if he comes up with the money. Just like here, where they reverse the foreclosure. So you don't have a right. In the normal case, where something is taken away because it's assessed, avada, it doesn't go back. But Shani Osam, the Shuma B'Torah, really, the whole thing was a mistake because it should never have happened, as Rashi says, because it was only seized, the assets were only seized, the Sover Hoya Sha'avdu on the Zaman. They thought they were lost. In fact, they weren't lost. They were there all along. This guy just forgot where he put it. Because the Havakibi Meikara, they were always around. They were never lost. Okay, weiter. I have to wait till we get to the Vaisvina Shila because that's the important line in Taisus. Amrin Ardai, Shuma Hadar Atreisa Yarchishat. We seize the woman's properties, Aloiva's properties, because he can't pay. He is allowed to reverse that seizure. He could claim his property back if he comes up with the money within 12 months. But if he doesn't come up with the money within 12 months, then it remains permanent. And the Meimer said, Anomi Naharda'ana, I am from Narda, Usvirli and I hold that Shuma Hadar La'olam, that forever and ever the loiva can always go and buy his properties back. The Hilchaza and Halacha Lamaisa Shuma Hadar La'olam Mishum Shenemar Vayisisa Yosher V'Atoy. It's the Fnim Mishur Sadin to always allow the loiva to buy his property back. Gewaltig. Zoktimor Pshita Shamulei LeBalchoiv. If a Balchoiv got an assessment of the value of a loiva's property, V'Azal Iu V'Shamul LeBalchoiv Didei, and this Balchoiv who's seizing property also owed somebody else money, and he had an assess to give to his Balchoiv. I'm reading a you tell him Loi Odif At Migavra da Asas Minei. You're no better than the person who you seize from. As Rashi says, the Balchoiv Sheni doesn't have a right to hold on to the property if the first loiva comes to buy it back. You only got this property from your loiva, but you only can seize the rights to the property that your loiva had in it. The same way he would have to forfeit that property if his loiva comes up with the cash. If you have to accept the money from the original bailim, mishum vasisa hayosher vatay. Okay, gavaldik.
Doesn't matter if the property value has changed.
That's what it seems like. Shuma
It seems like, and it seems like from Maymar it's forever. In 50 years, I can come and buy it back for the original amount.
Correct. It's lefnim mishur sadin. Of course, it's not halacha. It's lefnim mishur sadin. I forgot. We learned this Gemara already. Vasvinas Shilam is the question that Rava asked on Reb Nachman. Right? You, Reb Nachman, why do you let him keep? Why do you give him back the karka? Why don't we say that the shomer hapekaden should have been koined, just like we had in our Mishnah? So here Tasha says a very important point. V'tzarich loimer the yukra the kipi have a shvacha de alma. You have to say that yukra de kipi is shvacha de alma, and therefore it's something that the owner would be willing to allow the shomer hapekaden to keep, just like the kefal. And just like the dalvei kamak fela, like dami legizes of vladois, the oises shvach nicker begufa behema. That's what he does not give over. But the inflation cost he is giving over. So that's why this Tosfos is really talking to the first blot in a mafkid, which is telling us when we make that distinction between shvach tasam and alma, shvach tasam and gufa, inflation cost going up is going to belong to the shomer.
If he ever sells it, he can come back and get it back.
From the Lekuchos, Pashas he could, yeah. Pashas he could. So that's a property that can always get reversed. Yeah. Okay, Zok to Gemara weiter. Zok to Gemara weiter. Amr Nedai, Shumad da Treshi Yachishata, and there was the Helchsa Shumad had Loil Mishum Vasisa Yoshevet. Pshita. Shamal Bachai, Vaz will leave Shamal Bachai today. I'm reading Lay Loy Adif At Mikabed Osus Minay. What about Zavna or Taviyav Matan? So you asked me a question and I answered you without consideration, but that's the next step in the Gemara. What if either the person, the Malva who seized the property now sold it to a third party? Not it was seized by a Balchoy, rather he sold it to a third party, or he died and now his children yarshed it, or he gifted it away. As Rashi says, so what is the halacha? Zok Gemara vade hani meikara adaited the aranachas, v'lav adaited the zuzanachas. So here I'm wrong. Here we don't say that the property gets reversed because the malvas that seized the property, they were never interested in property. They were just interested in retrieving the money that they lent. So since that's really all that they were after, that's all they get to keep, and therefore they would have to return the land should the loiva come up with the money. But when you give somebody a gift, or when you sell something, the person who's buying it from you clearly wants the land, not the money. L'harai, he's giving you money to acquire that land. Adaited the aranachas sheyei karka shalahem, v'lo sheyikablu mois. They were never interested in the cash; they were interested in the property. Dila b'chayiv islam mishum v'asisa yasher v'atoyv. Abalchayiv lefnim yishur shadin has to give back the property. Davina, we tell him anyway. The hayalach alav elamois. Really, all you were ever entitled to was money. No, look, you have your money now. These people, you're not going to penalize them and mess them up. They wanted to buy a property, and now you're going to mess them up and take it away from them. So there, you don't say this vasisa yashavatoy. So what about shamul ali isha ben siva? What if a woman was owed money and the woman received this karka instead, and then she got married? Dr. Rashi, afidu lo shamasan labayla. Even if they were not made into nichlas barzel, which is like literally handing it off to the husband, rather she's keeping them to herself, and then the baal will only eat payers. Lias nichsim alug. Nichsim alug means a karen shalah. Baal echel payers. What would be the halacha? Oy shamu minade isha. Or if a woman owed money and they seized her property, then Siva and she got married, and again it's going to be Nichsamalug Umesa and she died. So now the husband takes over all of her interest in the property. Baal b'nichse ishte lekeach hava. We treat a husband relative to all of his wife's assets as a lekeach, and therefore, loy mihadar, whatever he seized, does not go back because he was a lekeach, and we said a lekeach was a die to the iron nachas. Well, loy madrin and lay, and we don't allow him to seize back what was taken from her. If she had assets taken from her before they got married that were there to pay for her chayv, and then she got married, Mesa, and she died by Yarsha Baila. Now her husband has yarshed her interest in the property, Ubala Hachser Achoiv. Now he wants to pay up the malva, he has the cash, and Velita La Karka, and he wants to get this karka back. He can't say I'm a Yorish. They made him like a lekeach and not like a Yorish. Okay, so let's see the Gemara weiter. The Amar Rabbi Yosy bar Chanina beusha skinan. Usha they were mesakin ha'isha shemachra b'nichsim alug b'chaye bayim. If a woman sold nichsim alug while her husband was still alive, umesa, and then she dies, habal moitzi miyad lekuchos, the husband can take it away. Zokt Rashi, very important. Baal moitzi, this is takonos usha. Baal moitzi guf hakaka miyad lekuchos. The Baal has a right to seize back the property from the lekuchos. This is what the Gemara teaches in Ksubos. Takonos usha begufa shal karka la'achar misa. It's in the goof of the karka after she dies. Almo, you see from here, kelekeach shavu rabbanon. The rabbanon consider him a lekeach. V'amar li, and he can say, v'amar li, he can tell them, ani lakachti rishon. When I married her, had first rights to this property. So if she sold this property after we were married, I have a right to it first. The ikashar shavu rabbanon. If it's just like a regular Yorish shemacher of nechasav v'chayav ein lo yerusha behen. If my father sells a property and then my father dies, I can't go and seize that property back. The only reason why the Baal has a right to that property back is because we consider him a lekeach. Beusha skinu kishosh Sanhedrin beusha. When the Sanhedrin was lusha, shegolso v'yosef v'sham Sanhedrin gedolah because I remember Rosh Hashanah gabe yasara masay. So this was at the kind that was made is that at the time of the marriage, we look at it like the husband has purchased any of the properties that the wife has. Okay. What about Agve Ihu B'choivai? So Rashi says, Il Mahadar Gabishuma. Now we're going back to this Shaila where a Malva seized assets. Klaimer, Im Loi Shamua Bezdin La Malva Al Korcha Shaloiva. If it wasn't, what happens if it wasn't Bezdin? It's not that the Malva went to Bezdin said, I want to seize property, and the Bezdin arranged to seize the property. Rather, the Leiva willingly said, listen, I have a property. I'm not going to put you through the foreclosure process. Here's the property to pay off for my chayiv. Come Leiva me atzmai. And he didn't put the Malva through all the hoops of running to the entire of litigation. So what would be the halacha then? Do you say Shumahadar there? Chadam or Hadra. One says it goes back. The Chadam or Loy Hadra. Mandam or Loy Hadra. The Mandam or Hadra doesn't go back. Sovar Hai Zvinim Al Yehi. If the loiv is willingly giving the property away to Pepes Chayv, that's considered a sale. Because you see, he willingly did it. Mandam or Hadra. The Mandam holds that it does reverse if the loiv comes up with the money. Sovar Loy Zvinim Al Yehu. It's not really a sale. By the Agva Midaite, the only reason why he made it easy for the Malva and didn't fight and resist the foreclosure. Machmas kisuva hudagve, because he's embarrassed. He can't pay back. He wants to make this whole difficult situation go away. Zok Gemara umay emes achol peri. Zok Rashi misha shamulay based in karka b'chayvay may emes he kenuyalay lechol peris. From what point and on does it truly belong to the Malva that the Malva can eat peris? Rabbi Amar michimati adrachta liyadei. Adrachta means once Bezdin Paskins that I have a right to seize property, they then give me a star that says I can seize property and I can start looking around for the properties of the loiva that we appropriate. So that means even before I actually took over the field, the moment I got a psak from Bezdin that I'm entitled to seize, whatever I do seize, I get the payers from the date that I originally had a right to seize. Abaya Amar Eidov v'chisumov zochenloi. Zokt Rashi miyoyim shenechtam ashtar adrachta bebezdin aval b'shloi b'liyada. So Rabba holds once I actually receive the star, it's given to me by the Bezdin. And Abai says if there's a lapse between when the Bezdin signed that star and the Malva received that star, we say that the Malva is entitled to those payers from the date that the star was signed in Bezdin, even though the Malva hadn't received it yet, because the Edim that signed that star are already kind of on behalf of the Malva, the payers, the schus that the star gives him. Rav Amar Mechi Shlimu Yimei Achrasta, which is a later point in time, as Rashi says, after he got the drachta, he has to find now something that's worthwhile taking, and then it has to be advertised for 30 days to make sure that they'll get the maximum value out of the property. So you have to have the drachta, you have to have already identified a piece of property that you're going to seize, and you have to already advertise the property as a power of sale so that it would get its maximum value. And at that point on, we consider the field to have belonged to the Malva, and he gets the pairs from that day on. Someone rented a para, and he lent it out to somebody else. Umeisa Kedarka, and it died. Meisa Kedarka would be Meisa Machmus Malacha. It would be an oinus. So Yishava Soicher Shemeisa Kedarka. I'm sorry, it's not Meisa Machmus Malacha. It's a misa of oinus. So the Soicher is potter on oinus. The Soicher is only potter on Geneva Vaveda. So the Soicher, as far as his relationship with the original owner, could just swear and he doesn't have to pay. But the Shoyel, he is chayv anointed. Yishalom the Soicher. So come to Rosh, the Soicher is now making money off an animal that doesn't even belong to him. Because he didn't have to pay, because what occurred was an oinus, but the Shoyel that he lent it to does have to pay. Rabbi Yosy said something about this doesn't make sense. This doesn't pass the smell test. Kate said, how is it possible that this soicher should make money off an animal? It's not even his. It belongs to the original owner. When the shoyel pays, because it was an oinus and he has to pay anyway, he's going to pay the original bail. Let's think about this for just a moment. How is the soicher koine this para that he doesn't have to pay? It's obviously b'shvua he has to swear that it was an oinus, and therefore he's potter. Frag the Gemara, v'lei malei masker l'soicher. Let the owner tell the soicher, dalant dal shvuos. I'm not interested in doing any discussion with you. I'm not even going to demand a shvu from you. I don't care. I'm going to have a direct din Torah with the shoyel who actually is liable to pay. So Abaye told Ravidi Bava back, "Mi sovris soicher b'shvua hu dikakani la." Are you telling me that the shvua, when the soicher swears that it was an oinus, that's when he acquires this animal? Adrabah, mishas misa hu dekani. He was kind of this the moment the animal died. U'shvua, the whole purpose of the shvua is kedei lahafez died to shabalabais, just to calm him down. So, in other words, the transfer of ownership has already occurred the moment the peril occurred, and therefore that cannot be reversed.
Calming him down, uttering himself.
But he's calming down, but he's not being ripped off. At least it was legitimate, al pi halacha, and not that we're lying and we're saying that it was an oinus when it really wasn't. Amar Abdeir, Zok Abdeir, ba'amim shabaylim, the Shalman kama peres l'soicher. Now, this Gemara that we're about to learn is an inspiration to one of Jackie Mason's most famous monologues. So look at this. It's possible that the Bailam is going to end up being liable to pay the Seicher multiple times for his own animal. How is it possible? Hechadami. I rented a para for 100 days. Then the person who I rented it from asked me if he can borrow it back. He asked me if he can borrow it for 90 days. So now there's a greater chiyuv of responsibility from the owner to the soicher than there is from the soicher to the owner, because I'm only a soicher, he's a shoyel. Then I said, you know what? Can I rent it back from you again? So now there's two loans here and two schirison. Umeisa b'soich yimei sheilasa. During the yimei sheila, it died mitoyos oinis, so the soicher is not liable to pay the owner. But the owner, who's now a shoyl twice, has a chiyuv to pay back even for an oinis. The akol sheilu sheila mechayev chadapara. So come to guys, I rented an animal, and now I'm getting 2 free animals out of it. Amalei Ravachmi Diptil Ravina Michti. I don't understand. Chada Parahi. It's only one para. I live Afka. It's going back and forth from pocket to pocket. Afka Mischiris and leaves Schiris Viola Shayla. Afka Mishayla Viola Schiris. How could you say that's going to generate 4 independent chiyuvim? Just pay back one animal and let that animal go back and forth and have it be the same animal. Amalei. If the actual para was here, that's exactly what would happen. The shoyl will give it back to the soicher, the soicher back to the shoyl back to the soicher. And then the soicher back to the owner. If in fact he had the original part, you could do that, but you don't have it. Therefore, each she'ela created a new chiyuv. Mar Bavashi Amar Ein Lo Yalein Elo Shtei Paras. There's only 2 paras here. Chada de she'ela, v'chada de schiris. There's only one para has to go back from the shoyl to the soicher, even though there's 2 she'elas, but there's only one animal. It's not here. If it was actually here, so then the shoyl will give it back to the soicher. Yeah. So therefore, if you're paying, each sheira demands its own payment.
Metzia was going back, no?
In real life, until it died. And now, so when it was given out, it went out real. But when it comes back, it can't, because it's not here anymore. So therefore, each sheila will trigger a new chiyuv. Marvavashi holds each incident, not each sheila, but there should be only one chiyuv of payment for the sheila and one for the schiris. Kashum sheila achasi, kashum schiris achasi. The sheila kani lagamri, the animal of the sheila, I'm going to be koina forever. Which I have to give it back. The schiris avad b'yimei schirusa, I will use it for the yimei schiris from hadil alamara, which we'll get into yesterday. We'll get into tomorrow because we're a little bit late. But there's a famous shtickle with Jackie Mason who went to a psychologist, and after an hour session, the psychologist tells him that will be an hour, and I'll charge you $100, and you'll come back tomorrow, and we'll continue to search for yourself. Right? So Jackie Mason says, first, who said I want to find myself? Maybe if I find myself, I won't like him, and maybe when I find myself, it's turning out that you're the real me, and if you're the real me, so then I help you find me, and maybe you owe me money. So that's what this reminds me of. Okay, Gewalt, let's have a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll review the last shtickle tomorrow because there's a lot of mechanics going on over here. We're running late. Okay, have a wonderful day.